Hey everybody, Munna786 here again today with my next video on the Destiny Super Good Advice series. This time I'm going to be talking about my Hunter Bladedancer build for PvP. I'm going to begin with the class build itself and then move on to my armor build specifically tailored to my weapons and playstyle. Starting from left to right, the grenades are an integral and strong part of this build. Since the nerf of the arc bolt grenade by Bungie way back, this option has been pretty useless. However, we're still left with two great options for grenades. The Flux Grenade is great for those of us who like to stick our enemy and run, or to stick them just as we're about to die in order to get a trade. It's a powerful grenade which also helps in taking down revived enemies in Trials or other revived playlists. Still, my go-to grenade is a skip grenades, especially now that Bungie has released the Shinobu's Vow, which we'll talk about later. These grenades tend to aggressively chase after enemies over long distances once they are locked on, and because they take incremental damage, it stops the enemy from regenerating health even if they try to run away from the grenade, which they usually fail at anyways. Right now this grenade is all over the Crucible and it's the one grenade I dread going against in most instances. Next is the jump. First I'll start with the option that provides the least advantage in Crucible, so you should avoid this whenever possible. Higher jump. Although the hunter sometimes feels crippled when trying to jump without the extra height, the maneuverability you gain from better control far outweighs any benefits. In my playstyle, I like to be quick and nimble on my feet as well as to make moves with precision, so I prefer better control. And although Blink Jump is a very good alternative for the Bladedancer, I've unfortunately not been able to master it, at least to the precision I like to play at, so it's not one that I choose often. Now for the Arcblade Super. I tend to switch between Razor's Edge and Vanish, depending on how successful I'm feeling with either at the time. Both have their advantages and can be used effectively in your playstyle. Razor's Edge has saved me countless times when I'm charging at an enemy and I see them change from their primary to special, especially shotgun. I stop a little further away instead of continuing to charge at them, and I'll send a wave across the ground to finish them off. This works really well when there are multiple enemies standing beside each other with their shotguns out, waiting to finish you off. Vanish, on the other hand, gives you that extra second when turning around the corner to be invisible and potentially get a flank as the enemy panics when hearing your Bladedancer. Both options for the super are viable, though I generally stick to the Razor's Edge myself. For the Blink Strike melee, in the Crucible there is only one option that should be selected: Backstab. A hit from the back is able to grant you an insta-kill on the enemy. This has worked quite often for me even when hitting enemies while their super is active, like Stormcallers and Self-Res, and especially with the still broken hit detection, you're able to get a one-hit kill, often enough from the side or even from the front. The Escape Artist perk, granting the brief invisibility, generally doesn't give you enough of an advantage to escape from sticky situations, but it may still be a very situational benefit. Fast Twitch, on the other hand, is just not worth using in the Crucible. For the next three columns, my goal is to balance agility, armor, and recovery, with most importance given to agility and then armor. My playstyle of ducking for recovery and tossing grenades to prevent enemies from charging at you works pretty well enough to warrant the minor sacrifice to recovery. In the middle of these three are three great perks. First is the Fleet-Footed perk, which increases maximum sprint speed as well as extends slide distance for those slide shotgun kills you often see in the Crucible. However, my preference is to have my weapon always at the ready, so I stick with Quick Draw. This perk works great when blink shotgunning, or even if you need to switch from primary to special quickly or vice versa. It allows you to get that weapon up and ready to fire before the enemy closes the distance and attacks you. Last of all is the Shadowjack perk, which should only be used in conjunction with the Stalker perk in the final column. If you are not using Stalker, this perk should not be used. Now moving to the final column, if you like to stay hidden, sneak around, get those Invisi-Shotgun kills, then Stalker is the way to go. You crouch for a second, get your invisibility, and then sneak around for the kills. This perk, along with the extended duration with Shadowjack, often enough allows you to get good flanks on the enemy. Don't be afraid to use this perk to your advantage when necessary, but be warned, when flanking you also make yourself vulnerable as you're separated from your teammates. The Encore perk at the top of this tree is one I never pick in Crucible, and generally keep it reserved for PvE, as the minimal boost it gives on kills is insignificant in Crucible. Last of all is my go-to option, Hungering Blade. Very often you'll see you are getting team shot when you are charging at the enemy with the Arc Blade. As long as you're able to kill the first person quick enough, you'll immediately regenerate your health and will be able to get away with a quick and easy multi-kill. This works really well with the Razor's Edge scenario I mentioned earlier, where you stop at a distance far enough where they can't shotgun you and then shoot the wave across the floor. You can then charge at the next guys normally, as they'll now most likely be scattering to the wind. Also, if you have been using Stalker while in Trials, then I'd highly recommend switching to Hungering Blade in between rounds once you know you're ready to use your super. To summarize, my go-to selections are Skip Grenades, Better Control, Razor's Edge, Backstab, Quick Draw, and Hungering Blade. If you're a player looking to flank with Stalker, then make sure you also choose Shadowjack with it, as will make the flank a lot more safer and thus more successful. Moving on to my actual gear, as you can see in this build, I primarily prefer to use pulse rifles, shotguns, and rockets in the Crucible, so I've tailored my build directly to this. First, the two main goals of the Bladedancer is to have your arc blade ready as soon as possible, as well as to get your grenades back as fast as possible. With this in mind, I've created a 5.5.2 build, however, I used the 5.5.1 for a long time before I could get this current set. I'll also be previewing two different sets of armor build and go through the advantages and perks of each. Starting with the helmet on this build, there are a multitude of perks which could fall, so the ones to look for are Infusion and Better Already, both of which regenerate health and shield on orb pickup. Also, to strengthen this build further, Ashes to Assets is great since it provides bonus super energy on grenade kills. Now to the Shinobu's Vow exotic for my gauntlets. The exotic perk gives you double skip grenades and also improves the original skip grenade tracking as well as aggressiveness, making them a dangerous combo. I then used glass needles from Xur until I rolled decent stat perks. I looked for shotgun loader instead of my usual pulse rifle loader since I'm using quick draw on my class perk tree, meaning I'm able to more freely use my shotgun. I also have fastball, which increases grenade throw distance, which is an added minor bonus. For my chest piece, I chose one that provided bonus shotgun ammo along with increased arc armor. For my boots, I chose one that provided bonus rocket ammo as well as increased agility after a melee kill. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a role suitable for my arc class. The increased agility after a melee kill might not have been my top choice, but it's working well enough for now. Last of all, for this armor build, I chose my Ghost, Cloak, and Artifact in order to build my Tier 12 5.5.2 build. The perks are generally less significant, however choosing a class item with Crucible Reputation Booster is always a bonus, and the artifacts reduce damage over time is another bonus as well. For my alternate Bladedancer armor build, I'll be switching up a couple of pieces. Noticeably, you'll see that I switched my exotic to the ATS-8 Tarantella, a play on words for the tarantula spider and the Italian dance based on quick, precise movement. Before we dive into the exotic, I want to show that I switched my gauntlets to a pair with shotgun loader, keeping with my original playstyle premise. However, I do have another pair of gauntlets with pulse rifle loader just in case I feel like switching. Now to the Tarantella. The exotic perk for this chest piece allows you to get your super and grenades back faster. How much faster? I did a little bit of testing to see the exact numbers. With the tier 5 build on intellect, it drops your in-game cooldown from the listed 4 minutes to a whopping 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That's a full 30-second decrease on your cooldown. And with the tier 5 build on discipline, it drops your grenade cooldown about 3 to 4 seconds from about 25 to 21 to 22 seconds, which is also really great. Yet, this build isn't just about getting your super quickly, but to also help your teammates out. I switched my artifact to Memory of Scory, which increases the recharge rate for my teammates' supers as well while I'm around them. So together, this makes a very powerful build when it comes to trials. The sacrifice of a single grenade by switching the Shinobu's Bow to the Tarantella along with this artifact drastically improves everyone's super recharge rate. You'll see that I made a little sacrifice by dropping down to a tier 11 5.5.1 build, but the benefits far outweigh the cons. And now finally, for this armor build, I chose my Ghost and Cloak in order to maintain at least a tier 11 5.5.1 build. Well, that's all for today, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, then please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this on other social media. Once again, this is Munna, and I'll see you next time.